Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode on the Gonstead Unfiltered podcast. Today, what we're going to do is talk about the Gonstead Physical Medicine duty and breaking through barriers. And I've said this quite a while now, but the thing is, we are the only species with the ability to be self-conscious and think about what we do and why we do it. But most people just live on autopilot and they just go from one urge to the next. How long can you live with yourself before putting off who you really want to be? Success, it's more than just a mission, it's a duty. And we are the only species to identify this. It's our duty to be continuously striving for knowledge and improvement. This means dedicating ourselves to ongoing education and training all the time, both in our personal and professional lives. And this isn't just a task that should be taken lightly. It demands effort, it demands discipline, and a tireless pursuit of excellence. So we cannot stop learning. With each new experience, each new lesson, so too does our confidence just continues to build. It builds the foundation of what we're trying to do with our lives. And it's through this never-ending cycle of training and education that we can achieve this true victory in life. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this Gonstead Physical Medicine duty. What does it mean to be a provider at Gonstead Physical Medicine? You need to constantly seek excellence and show some level of discipline in your life. That's like the standard. That is what we expect. If you're to be a provider here, you better be leveling up. What does it mean to be part of this team? You better constantly be leveling up because it will lead to some level of discomfort because the people around you are constantly leveling up. You know, we always said that if you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. Well, imagine being in a work environment where everybody's trying to level up but one person. That one person has no choice but to level up, and that's exactly what we want to create, even if it's just one individual. So why does just one individual from a mass of society even matter? Not just for you, but why does it matter to us? To discuss this topic, we have one of our fastest growing doctors ever, Dr. SJ, here with us today. Dr. SJ, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I don't know. I'm glad to have you on here. Part of the reason why you are so valued in this clinic, and part of the reason why, and you're going to talk a lot about this, is just as far as your success and your growth, is your desire to want to improve your health, right? And so SJ here is from Korea, and he's been in the United States now for 5 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you give a little bit of a background, just as far as your history?
Okay, so yes, I am from Korea. I often say I'm from North Korea just to see how people react to my statement. But I am from South Korea. I came to America in a normal way.
From Seoul, correct?
From Seoul, yes,
Okay.
correct. It is a small city but very compact. I love my country. I love my city.
Sure. How many people are in Seoul?
Last time I checked, it was about 8.5 million, close to 9.
Small city.
Small city.
That's bigger than Chicago, isn't it? So a big city from Korea.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
from South Korea.
From South Korea.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
So I came to America just to be in chiropractic school, just to become chiropractor.
Uh-huh.
So I came to America, landed in Iowa
Uh-huh.
for chiropractic school. So that was 5 years ago, and now I am a little over 2 years, with Gonstead Physical Medicine.
Yeah.
And I'm loving every moment that I'm in New Mexico.
Well, I'll tell you what. You have grown so much. Like you have to be one of the most respected people we have on our team, and I use you as an example all the time because it's not like you're the rah-rah guy. You're not constantly trying to say something. You show everybody who you are through your actions. And there's actions and then there's words. And so the difference is if somebody says something but their actions show otherwise, they're not going to gain much respect. But if somebody's showing everything through their actions, they're going to gain all the respect in the world. And that's what you've done. So like what is it that drives you so much? You know, you've mentioned this to me in the past, like with some of your friends and some things that maybe they're going through. What is this? What is the perception? Because there's kind of a lineage of people from South Korea who come into chiropractic school and then they try to practice as chiropractors, correct?
Yes.
So what is some of the common language that you hear from some of your colleagues about what their perception is when they came from South Korea to practice in the United States? Like, you want to share some of that?
Yeah, first, the general tone is actually quite depressing, right? So it is a unknown world, even though we know what America basically looks like, and we just hear it from the news, and it's all, oftentimes it's the bad stuff, right? It is a scary journey. So when you actually land in America, and when you first start the chiropractic school, it gets hard because of course there is language barriers. You know, you have to mingle with other people from different cultures, and in the end, when you graduate, you gotta make up your mind. So, do you want to stay in America, or do you want to go to different countries to practice? Right?
Is that what a lot of people do? Is they go to other countries as well?
So that becomes a little bit of a limited choice. So you're quite forced to go to other countries because you may work in Australia, you may work in Singapore, you may work in China. So countries that does not require, too heavy, background check, too much process to stay in America. So our general tone is quite depressing, and it is a hard journey. So when you graduate, I decide to stay in America, and all the bad stories that I hear is just, it is hard. It is a hard process. You have to find a person who is willing to hire a foreigner. They're going to have to pay for work visa, green card, whatever it is, and then you're going to have to put up with low salaries, hard working, you have long hours, and after all that, once you have the green card, now you're free. So you get to open up a clinic. So that's basically how prison works.
That's how prison works. But so you have overcome all of those barriers. Why don't you tell your experience? Like, what was your experience like? Because here's the thing: we have some of an audience because of you. We have people who are inspired because of what you have done. And so, what would you tell them as far as your experience? Like, it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Correct.
So go ahead.
My experience was exceptional. Actually, I was so scared to graduate because I thought I would never find a person who would hire me, because of course I'm a foreigner. My boss will have to pay a lot of money so I can stay here, right? So when I first did an interview with you, I wasn't expecting any job offer or anything. I was, you are quite famous in Gansted community, and I was expecting heavy competition, right? So when I came down here for an interview, my purpose was, okay, I'm gonna practice doing interview, and then I'll gain more experience, do another interview, and eventually I find someone who's willing to hire this guy, right? But when I first met you, I was so inspired with your vision, your mission, and how you were interested in me, not as a clinician, but as a person.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like we did the interview, and you asked me, hey, what do you want to do after 5 years? What's your short-term, long-term goal? And I said, I want to be a good doctor. I want to help people. And you said, well, yeah, good, but I don't want you to stop there. I want you to help you grow as a man, grow as a person, and I want you to be a good person. Yeah. And right at that moment, I was like, okay, now I'm working for this guy. Well, if he offers a job. And yeah, I was lucky enough to get a job offer from you, and ever since then, I have been growing
Oh,
and
my
growing
gosh.
and growing, and I have grown more in 2 years than I have ever had in my life.
I would even argue this, that you just within the 2 years that you have been here have grown exponentially, and it has everything to do with your character. It has nothing to do with me. Okay, it has everything to do with your character. And so the biggest thing that I want you to share with this audience is what allowed you to break through the barriers, maybe the foreigner barriers, maybe the stereotype of, oh, just go work for somebody until you get your green card and then go off and then you can open up on your own and all this other stuff. Like, you've been in practice now for 2 years, and you have been one of our most successful doctors, not only from a growth, like a numbers standpoint and all that, but more importantly is really as far as a team player and gaining the respect of our entire team. You have grown exponentially from that standpoint. And then just on a personal level, like, I've seen you grow so much just in your personal life as well. And so, like, why don't you talk about that? Like, why do you have so much drive? Like, is it were you operating out of fear? Were you operating out of, like, what is it that drives you to just want excellence in everything?
So there are so many factors when it comes to my drive. So first of all, well, primarily it is a fear, because when it comes to practicing chiropractic, I don't want to be in Korea. I love my country. I miss my city. I miss my country. I miss my parents. Everything.
Yeah.
But when it comes to chiropractic, I do not want to practice in Korea, because basically we don't have chiropractic there. It's all done by medical profession or even physical therapists. It is just not an option.
So the medical profession actually does chiropractic on patients.
Yes, medical doctors, they go to seminars taught by other medical doctors or even chiropractors who studied in America or Australia, wherever it is. Yeah. So they take seminar and they just do it.
Wow. Okay. So it was out of fear then, right? And I always say this, that fear is not a bad thing. Fear is something that it'll keep you sharp, it'll keep you on your edge, it'll keep you focused, it'll keep you driven. So you can either take fear and shy away from everything that you want to try to accomplish, or you can use it to motivate you to continue your drive.
Absolutely. So basically, I don't have any safety net, right?
Yeah.
So it was all or nothing. Well, I'm gonna have it all. I'm gonna have it all.
Yes.
And that's all I can do.
Yes, you burn the ships. We always
Burn
talk
the
about that.
ship,
Burn
yeah.
the ships. There's no going back.
going
That shit's
back.
gone on the wayside. That's awesome. So, like, let me ask you this, because you have gained so much respect, and honestly, me personally, I haven't had a ton of interaction with people from South Korea. So when you first came here, you completely changed my mind or perception of somebody from Korea. Now I think everybody's like you. Now I think every person from South Korea is like you, and they have big shoes to fill. So if we ever have another person from South Korea come to this office, they have some big shoes to fill because of this guy.
Yes.
So what is it like? What is it? Is that a cultural thing, or like, what does it mean to be a good person? Like, why? Like, is this just how you were raised, or?
Yeah. So basically, it is because how I was raised and how most of the Asian culture is. Because first of all, this is how I was raised. Right. My father is a military person, and my mother is a good teacher.
Yeah.
And academic proficiency was always my thing. So you have to keep learning. You have to keep getting better to the point where it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So learning all this stuff is not just academic, proficiency anymore. It's about, how to live your life, how to be a good person, how to be a good man, how to be a good doctor. So it's not academic proficiency anymore. It's about so many things.
Yeah.
And I enjoy every bit of that journey, and I seriously appreciate all the things that I'm learning now.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think it is a cultural thing. So when you grow up in Asian culture, it's more about us, we, than I, right? So you have to be in a group, try not to stand out. So sometimes it's a bad thing, but sometimes it's a good thing too. You have to work with the team. You have to
Yeah.
be harmonious to push the team forward.
Oh my gosh. Like, you know what? Just hearing this conversation, that would explain a lot as far as how you operate. You are so good as a team player. Like, that's the part that initially, if identifying any type of weakness with you, we would bring it up and it would be changed after one time. And that says more about you and really how you were raised with your parents. Your parents really did do a good job of raising you as a man, and so you got to give props where props are due, right?
Yes.
So now the thing is, like, you work so well as a team player, but at the same time, you have this high standard of excellence when it comes to patient care. Like, you go above and beyond, and you are so detail oriented. Why are patients so important to you?
So, it may sound a little impersonal, but when I first meet my patient, I put more emphasis on what they are going through, what the symptoms would look like, what the problem is. Because initially I'm there to fix the problem. I'm a problem fixer. But as we are moving forward, as we are sharing the journey together, now I'm a little bit more invested in people. We are sharing stories. They tell me their life stories. I tell them what I'm going through, and we start to build this connection, and we start to build a rapport. And then, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but it gets emotional when patients are going through a hard time. I get excited when patients go through a good time.
Yeah.
And now it's not just about fixing the problem, but it's about sharing the journey of life.
I love that. I love sharing the journey of life. And that's what this is. It's bigger than any of us. It's, sometimes when you do make those connections with patients and you share similar experiences that they're going through, that alone, how healing is that when you can connect with somebody on that level? And so a lot of times people think that patients just come into us for pain, when the reality is, when they do connect and you build those relationships, you have somebody that you can confide in then, right? And that's the cool part with all of this. So now, and within the 5 years, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had so far? Maybe, and it could be here, like while you've been here at Gonstead, or it could be at any point. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges? Because we're talking about breaking through barriers, right? Like, you were told, well, go find a job where someone's going to pay for the green card and the visa and all this other stuff and all that, and then you're going to have to do this, and there's these hurdles you're going to have to jump through and all this stuff. But you didn't do that. Like, you broke through all these barriers. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you've had through this process?
So ironically, the problems that I thought I would have when I was still in school, when I first landed in America, so they weren't the problem. So surprisingly, all the problems resolved very well, very well. So I'm grateful, I am appreciated for that. But the biggest challenge I had was dealing with people or communicating with other people. So people was the problem, right?
Okay.
So all my life, I was the only child in my family. Even in school, yes, I have friends, but all the homework, school work, I did it alone. Right? I prefer to be alone because I'm an introverted person.
Sure.
So sharing my time with other people is always hard for me.
Yeah.
So I was not. So when I think about it, when I was back in Korea, I was never challenged to work with others, to go through that shit, to share all that hardships, working together. I was always alone. So
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved it that way.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, I was not challenged enough.
Yeah, you're a high performer. You could tell. You're a very high performer. And sometimes when people are high performers, they're automatically, they automatically believe that they're going to be good leaders. And leadership and high performers are two different things. You can be a high performer, but not a not so good leader. But I think the part that has made you so special is your ability to do things through your actions. And you're such a humble guy. Like, if you guys can't hear it in his voice when he talks, like, he's such a humble guy, and he can say, like, he speaks from the heart, and he says what's on his mind, and that's what makes him so unique and so, like, such a pleasure to be around. But I think you're right. It's like, when you're so used to a certain amount of success, when you do it by yourself, they say, if you want to go fast, do it by yourself.
Yeah.
But if you want to go far, you bring everyone with you.
Absolutely.
You know.
And even in chiropractic school, I did my work alone. But
Yeah.
when I came to New Mexico, started working in Gonstead Physical Medicine, it was completely different environment. And it is not a small business. It is a big clinic. It is a large organization with a lot of staff members.
Mhm.
We deal with a lot of patients, and I am forced, I am challenged to communicate, to work along with all those staff members, and it was really rough.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
stressed out. I was frustrated. They were probably frustrated with me too. Now, who is this guy? Who is this Asian guy?
No.
But as I'm getting to know myself and getting to know other people, now it's becoming easier and easier process to communicate and work with others,
Mhm.
and it is actually getting easier to communicate with my patients too.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing we want to try to emphasize, is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your religion or your political preference. All that stuff is bullshit. The reality is, what kind of character are you as an individual? And if I could have 25 or 30 SJs, I would definitely have 25 or 30 SJs, because you are, like, exactly, you represent Gonstead Physical Medicine to the fullest. So I can't express that enough. So, all right. So why do you think, you've been here for 2 years now, and you've seen a large number of patients now? What do you think is one of the main reasons that patients have the issues that they do?
So first of all, I believe nobody taught them how to live correctly, how to live healthy.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of people and we see a lot of patients, and they say, I thought I was doing fine. I'm eating healthy, I
Yeah.
am doing exercise, and I'm sleeping well. But once you start to hear their story, it is not right.
Yeah, so, all right, so let me ask you this, because you have the Korean culture, and what is so different between the Korean culture and the American culture? Because you look like you're about 15 years old, okay? You look healthy, you look young, you're staying young, okay? So there's an obvious difference, okay? And so you see Americans are overweight, we're obese, we're heavily medicated, we're dealing with anxiety and depression, we're living sedentary lifestyles, we're filled with toxic material, whether it's what we breathe or drink or eat. So is there that much of a difference?
I would not say there is a much of difference, but also it can be a cultural thing too. So when we Asians think about America, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want to do. You can basically you're a free man,
Sure.
right? So in Asian culture, everything's a little bit controlled.
Really?
Yeah. So not in a bad way, not in a bad way, but there is a little bit of less urge, less urge to eat like garbage. There's less urge to do something that is out of normal, right?
Really?
But in America, I noticed that there are so many stuff that is overwhelming your mind, overwhelming your body. There are so many things you can get, you can acquire, you can eat, you can drink. There are so many things you can get your hands on. So I believe to a degree that makes the urge more powerful and you start to lose the control of yourself.
Yeah. And then, it's we're almost living in comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just live in so much. Yes, you are free, and that provides a lot of comfort. Well, I'm free to do whatever I want,
Yes.
and so the reality is, it's like anytime somebody's living in comfort, that's like the slowest death, if you think of it like that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, and so why do every now and then you'll get patients who like they're going to release themselves from care. Maybe they don't want to complete a care plan or whatever to the finish. Like, why do you think that is? Why do you think that people have this tendency to do that?
So initially, so I believe we are responsible for that as a clinicians, as a person who's trying to help them, because in order to stay on track, you need to see some progress.
Yeah.
You need to have a little bit of taste of winning, taste of success. That is the way you stay on the track.
Yeah.
Right. So initially, it is our job to show them, hey, you're getting better in this way, that way. Hey, you see this progress, and we should be motivating them.
Yeah.
But after all that, it is 100% up to the patient. So they chose to be in a bad spot. They have to choose to be, they have to choose to save themselves.
Yeah.
So it is their job to be motivated, to be disciplined, to move forward, even though you think you're not seeing the progress.
And so you nailed it right on the head there. Yes, you have to choose to want to get better. And the problem is that most people will not choose that until they hit rock bottom. This goes right back to comfort. Like living in comfort is such a dangerous place because all it does is when you have to make those decisions to try to improve yourself, you're like, I'm comfortable. Why would I want to put in more energy than what I have to, right? But the reality is, when people hit their rock bottom and there's nowhere else to go and they have no choice but to level up, what ends up happening is they'll say, okay, now what do? I'll do whatever it takes to get out of this misery that I'm in. But it takes them reaching rock bottom before they do that. Otherwise, if we're living in comfort, it's a slow death. Comfort is always going to be a slow death because of that.
You should be desperate enough. Desperation is not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. You nailed it right on the head there. So how do you go about inspiring your patients? Like, I'll tell you right now, personally, you have inspired me because I see it in your actions. You're such a humble guy. You do make it about the team and not about yourself. And like you said, maybe that's a cultural thing, but if that's the case, then I have the utmost respect for every single Korean possible, okay? Because it is, you put others before yourself, but how do you go about inspiring people? Like, what is it that you do, or what is it that you feel like you need to do to inspire others?
I really enjoy humor, and I enjoy showing my genuine emotion to my patients.
Yeah.
So like I said, when I first meet my patient, I am more focused on problems.
Yeah.
But later on, we are sharing this story and we are building this connection. I am very interested and invested in my patients. So I start to really care.
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't care what they feel like. So
Yeah.
I say what they need from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah.
And I don't care how they're gonna take it, but I gotta say what I gotta say to help you.
Yes, you're speaking the truth, and you don't care about their feelings, but you care about them. And there's a difference. If you care about their feelings, you're going to say the stuff that they want to hear. But if you really truly care about them, you're going to tell them what they need to hear. And sometimes that's not always the best thing to hear.
It is not easy. They get upset, they
Yeah.
get frustrated. Hey, but you still need to hear this.
You still need to hear it. And that's what happens when you do have people that care about you in your life, is that they're going to tell you the things that you may not necessarily want to hear, but you got to hear it. That's the only way to get you out of the rut that you're in.
Absolutely.
So, let me ask you this, because you are such a healthy guy. Like, is this, like, do you think it's a lifestyle, or what do you think about that?
It is. It took me some time, and like it is not over. I'm not jacked. I'm not like living this hardcore life. I enjoy all the vices.
Sure.
But we went to chiropractic school together, and we went back to Iowa for a seminar, and you saw my graduation picture. Like I was a fat ass man with swollen face. And yeah, to be honest, like I was stressed out. I was eating whatever I want, I was drinking a lot. Of course, I was stressed out. But everything starts to change as I was working for Gonstead Physical Medicine. I was surrounding myself with good people who knows how to live healthy, and I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot from other people who's doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, you surrounded yourself around people who want to level up. If you do that, you have no choice. You have no choice but to level up. And that's what everyone should be doing. Surround yourself around the people who are not going to be negative, who are not going to be toxic in your life, who are not going to just spread shit throughout your life with the gossip and all this other stuff. Get rid of those people. Like, that's what this comes down to. And I don't care if it's family, friends, or whatever the case is. If they are toxic, if they are negative, you have no room in your life. And we just talked about this the other day. Most people, when they die, are completely forgotten as if they never even existed 2 generations after they die. So, like for me, how much do I know about my great-grandparents? Not much. I don't know how it is for you. Maybe you do, but some people do know their great-grandparents. I don't. And so how many people can say that? Or whether it's 2 or 3 generations after that, you're almost forgotten. So do the things necessary to level up and live the life that you want to live. Live a life of fulfillment and joy and purpose, because life is so short, and if you're not operating life the way that you want it to, then what is the purpose?
Absolutely. So this is how I started to think. Not just myself, but every one of us are put on this earth for some reason, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone has purpose. We just have to find it.
Absolutely.
And part of being a good person is to find your vision, find your mission, find your core values, and figure out why you're on this earth. And you achieve more and more, and then you help others achieve more and more, and then you leave a mark on this earth.
Yes. And that is the only way that if you want to be remembered after 2 or 3 generations, that's the only way to do it, is by fulfilling your purpose and putting such a dent into society that you can't be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, Dr. SJ, I really do appreciate you not only being on this podcast, but just being part of our team. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to our audience today?
Well, it is going to be a hard journey. Whatever it is, it could be health, it could be career, it could be your life, it could be parenting, it could be, whatever it is. There's no easy process. And one of the things that I remember from chiropractic school is, there's not a process that does not take time.
Absolutely.
So be patient, put in your time, put in your work, and be great.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. So, folks, if you know somebody who's trying to break through barriers, if you know somebody who doesn't understand that duty is an obligation, like we are required to perform a duty, we are required to have success. If you have somebody who's kind of struggling with that, needs to help break through that mind block, we ask that you please share this podcast. If you guys want to hear anything, always feel free to reach out to us on the Gonstead Physical Medicine podcast. But until next time, folks, we'll see you then.